Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and I'll tell you a little bit of a secret that I've picked up over 18 years of being an entrepreneur, and that is pay attention to local marketers. That is an entirely different and specialized field of local marketing, and the people who are operating within that field and crushing within that field, they have earned their chops, because that is not an easy place to succeed, and that's why I'm personally so excited for all of us to learn from today's guest, because this is someone that not only has built an incredible brand, not only has helped so many different local businesses succeed online, but this is someone that really understands digital marketing on a level that leads to growth. So let me introduce you to today's guest. His name is Lee Thompson. Lee has a long history of veterinary practice management. He's managed several multi-million-dollar hospitals over his career, and he found a real passion for helping local businesses grow. He left the day job to start his first agency focusing on local SEO, and he used the success from that business to start his new agency called ClickSense, which focuses on the whole picture of helping wellness businesses generate new customers through conversion-focused local SEO, we're going to talk about that term, and keep them coming back through automated systems and follow-ups. We are all going to learn a lot in today's episode, so I'm excited about it. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Lee Thompson. All right, Lee, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Brian? Thank you for having me.
Heck yeah, we're going to learn so much from you, but before we jump straight into the deep, wide world of marketing, take us beyond the bio. Tell us, who is Lee? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
You know, I always had a passion for internet-based things, right? When I was a kid in school, I learned to HTML code my own websites and do all that. So I kind of started from the beginning. I managed a lot of different hospitals and kind of wanted to do something on my own. And, kind of digital marketing spoke to me at the time. And this was a long time ago now. So, in the internet world, probably about 6 years ago. But I've been able to kind of branch out from there, learn from my mistakes, and kind of build a pretty functional agency overall. So we're pretty excited with the results so far.
Yeah, I love that overview, Lee, especially because I'm really going to leverage your insights and your knowledge and experience to introduce our audience to why is local SEO? Why is local marketing? One, what makes it so different? And why is it so important? Because you heard in my teaser episode, I think it involves such a deeper level of skills to stand out in a local marketplace, but give us that introduction there.
Yeah, and things are changing a lot. And that's a big piece of this field that I really enjoy. But the difference between kind of local and what we would call national SEO is your search terms, right? What you're actually looking for. If I'm looking, to go to a chiropractor down the street, I'm not looking for something in New York, right? So that's where local SEO really comes into play. It's more geographic, it's more targeted, and it's more specific to where I am right now. So it's going to use my location data to kind of pick up a lot of that, which is going to direct me to what all search engines are looking for, the best answer, the best answer to what I'm searching for overall.
Yeah. So let's talk about some local businesses. You've worked in so many different capacities in different industries, different business models, different really types of businesses. So Lee, what are some of those considerations? Because we all live in places where there are local businesses. Pretty much all of us also live in places where there are change these days. It's hard to stand out. What are the difference makers in your mind?
I think it depends on the industry, right? It depends on what the industry needs. So we've gone from law firms originally. We've kind of been all over the place. The first agency, we'd kind of do whatever was business coming in. We've kind of broken that down a little bit over the years and kind of gone to the wellness industry as more of a product-based industry or service, to where they're looking for recurring revenue. They're looking for repeat business, people coming back. So we have to kind of change our mindset as these businesses change, because when I'm looking for people coming back, I need to be able to talk to them routinely. I need to be able to remind them that these businesses exist, that, oh, you know what, I haven't been to get a massage in over a month. I probably should go back. We use that text messages, emails. We do a number of things based on the type of business, but it's to keep it in top of mind for the existing customer base and new customers as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad you called that out again, because obviously I teased it in the intro talking about the nature of the work that you do with ClickSense, but clearly it is that double-edged sword. Clearly, problem one is we need to get people to walk through our doors, and then problem two is how do we get them to keep coming back in? Obviously, the cost to retain a customer is less than the cost to acquire a customer. Talk to us about both sides of the coins and if there are different channels and considerations that you have for both of those tasks.
Yeah, I think, I can speak to the wellness industry right now because that's kind of where our main focus is. A lot of what we're doing is kind of, first we want to kind of optimize everything for people to be able to find us, right? We want our services out there. We want to say that we do X, Y, and Z. From that perspective, we want to keep in mind the customer because the conversion piece to it, we need to make it easy. If somebody lands on our website and they can't make an appointment, they're probably going to bounce nowadays. Not a lot of people like to make that manual phone call. So we set up systems in the background to make less friction, to make things easier, to make bookings straightforward. The landing page is really targeted and focused on these areas that we really excel in. The website itself can be as big as we want it to be, but when we talk about really targeting that local market, what are people actually looking for? They're not looking for all of our services. They're looking for something very specific. And we've got to build pages to kind of target that. If you're looking for hot stone, if you're looking for a massage, if you're looking for red light, these are the areas that we want to target based on where our marketing messages are.
This is what I always love about conversations with great marketers such as yourself, Lee, is that a lot of people might tune in and say, well, I want to learn about local SEO or I want to learn about local marketing strategies. But here you go talking about your website, talking about conversions, talking about building pages. And I think that people often forget that no SEO in the world is going to save you. No SEO in the world is going to magically convert if your website doesn't nurture that visitor and turn them into a paying client. What are some of those considerations at the website level? Because I remember back in 2012 when I had a local marketing agency in the Boston area, which is a long time ago now. Things have changed a lot, but everybody thought, I'll pick on paid ads for a second. Everybody thought they could just run Google ads to their homepage, and that's what people were doing. And miraculously, Google ads didn't work. But of course, it wasn't that Google ads didn't work. It was that the strategy didn't work. Talk to us about the difference in where we send traffic, how our website is set up, and how we really view that conversion process.
Right. And to your point, you never send traffic to the homepage. We preach that all day long. It's your copy for your ad set goes to a specific page. So we build these pages with that in mind. From a local perspective, we build them as geo-targeted pages, right? So if we're saying that I want a massage in Atlanta, we make sure those buzzwords are there. That's getting less and less relevant as kind of search engines evolve, as AI evolves, but it's still going to have a consideration there to make sure we're targeting it. But to that piece, your copy lines up with your landing page. And we can have 200 different landing pages as long as you have an ad campaign that goes to a page that matches it. What we don't want is somebody clicking an ad for chiropractics and they land on red light. We want to make sure that it's targeted to the correct information based on the user's search intent.
Yeah, I would imagine that actually means, hearing you use this example, it sounds like you probably have a different page for every single campaign. Is that the case? Is that the way that we should be viewing it? Because the huge advantage there obviously is you speak to the exact user's needs, but how do you set that up on the back end?
Right. On the back end, we build a lot of pages. We have a very specific process for building local targeted pages, but we keep them in a spreadsheet, right? We know which service is for which thing. And when we're building this strategy, it kind of helps us to streamline everything. And not that if they land on the main web page, that's fine. All of our landing pages divert back to the page. So we have to keep that link structure in mind as we're putting it through. If they're clicking a service, I still want them to go to the right landing page. So a lot of it are very large Excel sheets, lots of pages, and it depends on how big this business or clinic or area is, and it gives us a better idea because not every business is going to need 100 pages, but depending on how competitive the area is, the more pages we have, the more likely they are to show up on those pages, and the more likely they are to convert if they land where they're supposed to.
Yeah, Lee, it's so cool hearing how conversion focused that you are, because just talking to as many business owners as I do and entrepreneurs, I know how many marketing options there are out there for us. And I see too many people just blindly throwing their hat into social media, like local business owners that I know. Actually, one of my friends owns an ice cream shop, and he said to me the other day, he's like, I've been posting on TikTok every single day for 2 years. It's not bringing any new business in there. So I'd like to get, obviously I'm picking on like certain marketing channels and strategies, but Lee, you work with these small business owners in local markets. What are the different channels that you would consider, and what's the timeline to results look like? Because obviously there are longer plays. Not to say that social media is bad. There are different ways to do it, but I'd love to hear what's in your marketing toolkit for clients.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of success with local SEO right now. That could change next week. I kind of like this industry because it changes a lot. We're seeing a lot of impact from AI search, so making sure that our content is AI friendly, making sure that it's able to kind of pull those little snippets for the quick answers and then direct somebody to the correct page. Weirdly, we've been getting into Facebook ads recently. From a targeting perspective, it's amazing. Facebook knows who you are, where you work, what your job is, what you're interested in. So it's able to kind of pull a lot of this data. But Facebook ads from a marketing perspective, and then the other piece would be local citations, things that are in the cities we're in, getting the name out there and making sure that it's available in some of these directories that people are actively searching in. If you're looking for home services, you may or may not search Google for it. You may look at Angie's List or things along those lines, but we need to make sure we show up in these databases where people may frequently search, and some, it's generational nowadays. So depending on who's searching, there may be different marketing channels for it.
Yeah, Lee, you keep saying that SEO has changed and it will change. You and I are both harping on that. I don't think listeners understand just enough how very quickly that it is changing. Talk to us about how AI is changing SEO, because I see it increasingly more with almost every single Google search that I'm doing. But what are your observations on that industry?
We're seeing a lot with it. I think one of the recent studies I read probably 2 days ago, they're talking about a 70% decrease in website visits in lieu of AI snippets. So we're seeing a lot less people moving towards the website with keywords when they can get a quick answer. Now, this isn't, as related to our local services, because even if somebody says, I'm looking for a massage, it's probably not going to give them a snippet about why to get a massage. It's going to recommend some of these top places in the 3-pack, the SERPs, everything through there. So I think that's one that, we still have a lot of leverage with it. But AI, I'm a big fan. It makes things easier. It makes things more straightforward. There's a lot of bad information out there, so making sure that everybody's not using that first snippet that comes across. But it's really helped our business to kind of scale a little bit, but we have to kind of make sure there's still human eyes that go on everything.
Yeah, I appreciate those insights, especially because even hearing you talking about that, where my head went is actually AI is probably greatly helping SEO efforts, because now you can generate really targeted, really, A, B to Z variations of header tags, title tags, all of those things, which is really cool that you can now play with that. And it has a deep understanding of the businesses that you're working with. And I think that that's a really cool tool to use. I also want to leverage you here, though, because clearly you and I are both big believers in the power of SEO, and it's really cool hearing you emphasize especially how important that is locally. I think too many business owners trick themselves into believing, I already rank for my keywords. And when you ask them, well, what are you ranking for? They say their business name, which of course they're ranking for their business name. Lee, we're not just talking about you getting people to show up when people search for that specific business. Talk to us about keyword selection and the importance of those keywords, not just their brands.
Yeah, we're seeing, if somebody's searching for my business, they already know who I am, right? They've seen me somewhere, they see that, which branded search is great, but that's not what that's not going to drive a lot of revenue. Somebody's already heard about you, somebody has already mentioned you, so that's good. That's a referral, right? So when we look at local SEO and keywords, we're seeing more long tail keywords. So these are more answer related searches, which are, where can I get this type of massage? Where can I find a chiropractor that specializes after car wrecks? It's more question and answer that should be backed up by content. So a lot of the keywords, massage is not something we're going to search for, right? TRT is not something we're going to search for on its own. We're usually asking a question now because we have AI, because we have everything right in our hands. Our phones go with us everywhere. So you're not sitting down at a desktop to do a search on something. You're searching real quick while you're in the middle of another task and you keep moving. Or you find a business that's easy to schedule with. You go ahead and schedule and you move on about your day. So it's all about speed and making sure we're hitting kind of those top pieces to the question and then kind of leading them to the focused landing pages where we want them to convert, what we want them to do, and giving them that clear call to action.
Yeah, Lee, you've got to be careful what you say around me because certain words just perk my ears up. And you talked about content. Obviously, in the world of marketing, we always hear that phrase of content is king. Is it still? What types of content? I'm thinking about all the local business owners. I know that pretty much none of them create content because they're too busy running their businesses, of course. Is content still king? And what type of content should local businesses be pumping out?
Depending on the type of business, and we always have to add that clarifier, right? Because everyone is going to have a different need. What we see most often is we want to show algorithms, we want to show search engines, we want to show everything that matters, that you're an expert in your field. And whether that is hormone therapy, whether that is chiropractics, whether that is wellness, we want to add content, generate content, because it does matter, that is in line with what your website says, with what your location says, with what your area of specialty is, and it gives more touch points, right? The more information we have out there that lead back to your website, it's like a spider's web. You're going to get more and more info, and then it slowly kind of transitions back to your website to bring a customer in. So the more we have, the better. It has to be good. It can't just be, to your point, with AI from a volume perspective, it can't just be AI generated, throw it on the internet and see what happens. We still have to scale it a little bit back to say that I need people to read it. We still have writers that work for us that really kind of review it, but we make sure that content makes sense and it matters for somebody to sit there and read it. It's not just informational for the sake of it. It's informational to lead them towards something.
Yeah, so well said, and such an important consideration. I want to go back a little bit, Lee, because you talked about speed, and I'll transparently tell you while we're on the air together that there's one sentence that stood out to me the most in your questionnaire before you and I got together today, and that is, you talk about the importance of educating potential customers, making it easy for them to book, and then what you've got in all caps is reaching out to potential leads fast. I always like to say internally, money moves fast. It's really great to be in the company of somebody who very much shares that belief. Talk to us about the importance there, because I, as a consumer, many companies have lost business because they didn't match my speed of execution, but you work inside of so many different businesses, especially conversion focused ones. I'd love to get inside your mind there. And importantly for listeners, talk about how we can quicken that cycle of following up, of sales, of reaching out. Get us inside that Lee fast mind.
I love automations. They have made my life so much easier. Chatbots, instant AI replies, text replies, phone callbacks, all of these pieces, you think about it as a customer, right? If you're calling a business and nobody answers the phone, you're going to keep looking for businesses. And it's something that simple, right? But if you set up an automation that says, I missed a phone call, I'm going to shoot a quick instant text that, hey, we missed your call. How can we help you? That at least starts the conversation, right? It keeps that customer interested, but speed is so important. You can lose somebody in 5 minutes. And honestly, if they're actively searching for something, you could lose them after seconds. So if you don't have that instant reply, you lost your business and you didn't even know you lost the lead, which is the most frustrating part for business owners. That if somebody was busy, if you were tied up, if you were helping somebody face to face right in front of you, of course that's going to be priority, but you're losing business down the road. So automations, email follow-ups, even things as simple as reviews, right? Somebody leaves my business, I want to make sure that I've either asked them in person, or if I miss that in-person interaction, I want to shoot them a quick text right afterwards. And as a business owner, I know I don't have time to do that for everyone. I sure won't do it consistently, and I sure won't do it quickly. So when I'm able to set up those automations in the back end, it makes my life easier. And I know that little piece is being taken care of.
Yeah, I love that. Obviously, you and I right now are talking so much about getting them through the door, but I want to switch gears a little bit because I knew time would fly by with you, and I want to squeeze a few more things in. Let's talk about that, the return customers. That's something I very much appreciate about the way you've set your agency up, and really the emphasis of work that you do is to get those people to come back in, whether it be incentives, whether it be ongoing communication. I'd love to hear behind the scenes about some of the strategies and tools that you have up your sleeves to make that happen for businesses.
Right. I think, it's funny. There was a TRT clinic that I was actually talking to. The owner is actually a friend of mine, so we were helping him out in between. But he basically told me one day, just out of nowhere, about, file cabinets. He has a room full of file cabinets of essentially dead leads, previous customers, past business. He's like, I just have money just sitting there. I don't know what to do with it. So we talk about reactivation of some of these clients, right? These are people that have had our services. They've been happy. Most of them. They've been, or they may have just fallen off the radar, right? I was supposed to come back for a follow-up. I never made it back in, or things got busy. They dropped off. But part of our job, and as business owners, as marketers, as all the things, is to be front of mind. So by setting up, again, simple automations, we're able to take this entire customer list, thousands of people, drop them into a database, and send them a quick email. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. How are things going? Is there anything you need? We're offering 20% off for the month of July for you to come back in, get some blood work done. Simple, easy things that don't cost us anything. Or if they do, it costs us minimal amounts compared to bringing that customer back in for long-term services.
Yeah, it's cool. But I would imagine, Lee, a lot of times clients probably say, well, what do we say when we reach out to people? And I've always just face-palmed at people's fears about, well, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to pop up in their inbox. But of course, if we are happy customers of somebody, I'll out myself here. There's a local donut shop. I love hearing from them, Lee. It's always great to see what new flavors they have. And in those emails, I don't think of them all the time. I try not to think of them all the time. So I don't go in all the time. And so it is those automated follow-ups, those weekly newsletters that keep them top of mind and keep me coming back. What types of things can businesses, especially you working with those wellness brands, what types of content should they be sending out on an ongoing basis?
We'll set up, so kind of when we go into a new business and do a foundational build, we will basically list out 12 months. What promotions do you offer? Do you do something for certain months? Like, is February a special month in your industry? Is this something you want to offer? Do you have, less business in November? So great, let's go ahead and offer incentives to bring people in. So we do anything from 20% off of services, free sample size of a cream, of a wash, something along those lines. We varied a little bit, and we basically put them into these categories where they get a year's worth of retargeting, or if they've been in it within the last 30 days, they get moved into a new funnel, which basically retargets them for different reasons. Hey, you're due for this, you're due for that. So it varies a little bit, but usually really small discount offers, top of mind, free exam, free blood work. A lot of those things are pretty easy reasons to bring somebody back in the door. And then as a business, we upsell them, right? We say, hey, you haven't been here for a while, you could probably use this. Hey, do you have these supplements? Do you have these things in your kit? So
Yeah, it's so cool to hear all of these things. I mean, here you are just talking about retargeting now, and that is such a very low cost. I'm always mind blown at when I see the low costs that are involved in retargeting campaigns, and that's the lowest hanging fruit. That is our most likely audiences to buy from us. So cool to hear about how your work really focuses on this entire plate of options that we all have when it comes to marketing. That said, Lee, I've been very excited as well to switch gears a little bit and talk not just about marketing with you, but put you in the spotlight, because you are the founder of an agency. I've been in the agency world a long time ago. There are so many complex things to running an agency that I learned the very hard way. Talk to us about how you're managing. Obviously, you've got clients, you've got leads and prospects, you've got proposals that are out there. You have so many different ingredients to your business. So how the heck, when Lee sits down at the end of the day or beginning of the day, clearly I'm a night owl, I do it at the end of the day. How do you sit down and make sense of all the different moving pieces of owning an agency?
I've set up my own CRM for those things because I personally, as a business owner, I need the automations, right? I need things that show up in my face. So you think about it like I'm a customer, right? I have things that drop into my email. I have text message notifications. Whenever somebody books an appointment on my calendar, I get an email with their details and a text that says they booked with what time. It's these little pieces that really kind of keep my day moving because I know I can thrive with my phone. I have, right now, we have about 5 employees that work with us in varying time zones. So work's getting done 24 hours a day. We communicate through WhatsApp. We have quick Excel sheets with our content, with everything that we have pending. We have an individual Google Sheet for each client that has all of our basic information for them. So any of my VAs can jump right in and kind of make sure everything keeps moving. We keep everything on the calendar, so it's kind of all logged. We use Motion a lot now, which is kind of the newer AI scheduler, which has been pretty cool for some of our client accounts. We use Trello historically, which that's kind of just an easy drag and drop new client account setup. So a lot of our things are built with the idea that I'm able to look at it on the go. I get notifications when new things happen or things are pending, and I'm able to push the information out very quickly to my team to kind of keep that moving. So we're able to hit all these different touch points with very little involvement, and thankfully my team's so great I don't have to be involved with a lot of the day-to-day inner workings, but I can be because I can see it all right in front of me.
Yeah, I really appreciate that behind the scenes insights into the way that you operate. And of course, building a team is a skill in and of itself. That is not an easy feat to do. Lee, I want to ask you this question. I haven't typically asked it in the past on this show, but more and more I think I'm stepping into this because it's advice that we've all heard before. But when I see people like you taking this advice and crushing it with this advice, I'm just going to keep hammering it home for listeners. And that is, of course, talking about niching down. We've all heard the benefits of niching down. And I remember as a younger entrepreneur, how many times I thought to myself, well, that's just going to close me off to opportunities. That's going to turn away business. But Lee, I think you've been very successful. And it seems to me like you followed it naturally from your career, even before starting agency life, is that you've owned this niche and you're very comfortable talking about that niche. Were there some mindset struggles to just own that niche? Did it come naturally to you? Give us some insights there in the hopes that we inspire at least one listener to say, okay, finally, I'm going to niche down and I'm going to be comfortable talking about it.
It is so funny you say that. I fought niching down from the day I opened my first agency. I opened the first one to the exact same thought. Like, why would I turn away business? Why would I give up those revenue streams? If somebody wants me to do something, I can take care of it for them, right? I know this industry. I know the job. We can absolutely help them. What I found is that I think I started in the first agency, I ended up with 10 clients, varying things from lawn care to tree cutting to chiropractors to lawyers, a little bit of everything, right? I found I was working for 10 clients almost 200 hours. And then I went over to just started to kind of transition to law firms. So I did divorce law and personal injury, and I was able to streamline everything. I was able to say, I know what these businesses need. I know, even on a sales call, I know what they're interested in. I know what they don't want to hear. It made my sales calls easier and quicker. I got more people involved. I got more people that were interested in services, and it made my job easier. I went from 200 hours to 60 hours with the same number of people. It was a wild change. And then when we closed the last agency and we opened the new one, we decided we wanted to get out of the legal space, and we kind of moved into wellness. But we built the business around what wellness centers need. With lawyers, they don't care about recurring revenue. You don't want to go to a personal injury lawyer every month. You want your one big case, and you want to move on. You want to keep them in your phone book, and then you move on from there if you need them again. But wellness businesses, they need people coming back in. We retarget their customers. We reach out to their customers quickly. We're able to get them back in the door. So from a business perspective, as much as I fought it kicking and screaming the entire way here, I am such a fan of the wellness niche that I'm in. I'll still offer a couple custom jobs here and there, but those are by far very infrequent from what I've seen so far. And my life is so much easier in one niche. So
Yes, I love hearing that, Lee. I hope that is the kick up the butt for so many listeners, because I can feel it in your story. Is the fact that you fought it, I think, makes your vantage point, your perspective, and your personal experiences even more valuable, because you've been there and you totally understand it. Lee, I'm only going to put you on the spot one last time here in today's conversation, but I'm not sure how you're going to answer it, because you've already given us so much insight and knowledge here in today's episode. But I always love asking at the end of these conversations, what's your best piece of advice for listeners, knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and also knowing that you are one of us, you're a fellow entrepreneur yourself. What's that piece of advice that you want to leave them with today?
Don't give up. I think, results take a long time, and you hear about it all the time, that you didn't fail until you quit. But I think nobody prepares you for how long that may be. And, everybody thinks a year or 2 years. It could be 3 years, 5 years. You could fail 10 things and start over. Just don't give up. You will get something out as long as you stick with it.
Boom. That right there. It's advice we don't just need once, Lee. I think we need that advice every single week. So I'm so grateful for you bringing that to our audience here today. I also know that people are going to be super excited to check out all the great things that you're up to with ClickSense. I love the way you talk about marketing. It's so clear to me that you think not in terms of just marketing tactics or shiny objects, which are abundant in the world of marketing, but it's so clear to me that you care about tangible business growth. So for listeners who want to check out ClickSense and all the great work that you're doing, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yeah, I think, we have a lot of presence on social media right now. ClickSense.io, our main website. We can book appointments through there, talk about individual strategies. We pretty much build a custom plan within some framework for every business that we work with. So we kind of look at where everybody's at now, kind of make some recommendations for where they can go, or if they're doing everything right, cool, how do we scale it from there? What can we do to benefit your growth, which it's always great.
Yeah, for sure. Listeners, that's the link. Super easy. ClickSense.io. Lee, I'm going to publicly say that automatically you are one of the coolest companies in my mind, because you've already got a neon sign, and I'm such a sucker for a good neon sign. So for listeners who can see you and I right now, they can check that out, but they can go straight to ClickSense.io. Listeners, you already know we're dropping that link down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning in. So Lee, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Appreciate it. Great talk.